I am Neneh Biffinger, the Broker Relations Ambassador for Painter Prairie, and I'm so happy to have y'all on this webinar. There's been several new home construction 101 type of webinars, and we really wanted to do something different to help you understand how to bring value to your clients so that you're not just collecting a paycheck, you really are doing something great for your clients. So Painter Prairie, if you're not familiar, I know some of you actually are residents there as well as have brought clients out and sold in our community, which is awesome. Thank you. But for those that don't know, I do want to give a little bit of an introduction. We are the only neo-traditional community in the Northeast Denver metro market. We are a 7 to 10 year build out, anticipating about 3,400 residents. Currently, we have about 121 families who have already moved in. Our parks are our biggest amenities and they are amazing. I consistently say seeing is believing. So you got to come out and see the actual community to see what it's all about. In our first phase, we have 5 world-class builders with 29 floor plans. Out of the 321 net home sales that we have year to date, over 75% of those have brokers attached to them, which actually totaled 189 different brokers with at least one sale in our community. We do, though, have 6 who have at least 6 sales, including my 2 co-hosts, which I will introduce, and they will also introduce themselves. They both have been leaderboard winners. The first is Ashley Fowler. I was first introduced to her when I discovered her own Painter Prairie Living Facebook page while I was actually learning about the community before I partnered with them, with the developer. And she was the first realtor to actually call and invite me to coffee so that she could learn more about how to be involved. Ashley, will you please tell us who you're with and something interesting about yourself and what percentage of your business is new home construction?
Hi, everybody. I'm super honored to even be here and speak about new home construction. My name is Ashley Fowler. I'm with Focus Real Estate. We are basically a central, we started with a Central Park. That was kind of our farm, but we've started to move out and definitely into new construction. So I would say, so what percentage of my build is, I would say right now it's about 40% is new builds. And it's growing. I mean, we'll get into, the nitty gritty of the market and what's going on. And something interesting about myself. Back in the day, I was a court reporter. So this is much, much better going from being super silent to being out and talking to the world. It's amazing. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it. Thank you, Ashley. And next we have Michael Kearns, who his teammate and wife is Diana. They were the first realtor homeowners that we had in our community, and they are definitely the biggest advocates within our development and for our developer, including they have started a garage sale that will be our first community garage sale in May. They have started the Facebook community page for the neighbors to be on and find out what's going on. And they were the first to go to lunch with me. So please, Michael, take a moment to introduce yourself as well.
There we go. Had to get myself unmuted. Thanks, Neneh. So as Neneh said, my wife, Diana, who's on my screen right about there, and I work together. I've been in real estate for about 17 years. Right now we're with Realty One Group Premier. And before this, I was a corporate human resource director. And when I moved to Colorado in 2000, a couple months before, I moved here from New York, and a couple months before I took that photo of the New York City skyline that was changed forever 1 year to the day after I moved here. Neneh?
Thanks. Okay, so tell us something interesting about yourself and what percentage of your business is new home construction.
Well, I don't know if that was interesting or not, or that I did.
Oh, sorry, that was interesting. Yes, that was good. Thank you.
We've done about 175 new home sales.
Okay, awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so let's dig in. The first piece of the topic that really is the main part about how to be valuable to your client, and really as the biggest tip to even start the process, is you already know to get to know your client, right? So you can help them find something to buy, but it's also super important to get to know the builder so that you can match them well. So Michael's going to kick it off talking about the benefits of really getting to know the builders.
So, the first thing that we talk about is real estate's a relationship game. And I think it's really important that you build a relationship with the builder, sales rep, get to know what you're doing. Things like this webinar are really helpful. Going out and talking to the builders and making sure that you understand their process, their product, how things work. You want to know, do they have, how does their contract work? Do they have wait lists? Do they have homes available right now? Obviously, we're all dealing with inventory issues, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But knowing, does the builder have inventory? And if not, what kind of timing do they have? For those who haven't done new home construction sales, prices are very different. Well, they used to be very different than they were in resale. It used to be that in resale, you knew the price you had to hit. I'm not sure that that's true anymore. We're all bidding way over. But in new home sales, builders will quote base prices. You'll see the signs that say homes from the upper 300s. And that'll change as you pay for lot premiums and upgrades. So it's really, really important for your clients that you know what's included. Is air conditioning an extra? Is a basement included? Are those options that you can pay for? One of the challenges that I think we've seen, and I've seen it, I've actually sat for some times with some builders, we've represented builders as realtors actually, is agents who get in their own way or get in the way of the deal. Agents who don't know some of those details. And I've seen agents literally yelling at the table while they're doing a contract with their buyer, back when we all used to sit in the same room. But yelling at the sales rep that, no, you need to give us $5,000 off, or you need to give us $10,000 off, or, we won't do this if we don't get a free refrigerator. So it's really important that you work as a team, that you know the builder, know the development, know the builder's rep, talk to them, build that rapport beforehand, and know your buyer, know what's really important to your buyer, know their timing. This is that one time that you're in a transaction where you are going to be face-to-face with the other agent, effectively, the builder rep, with your client sitting there. So when they say, hey, to your buyer, start asking them questions. If you don't know the answers, you don't look as good. So being prepared with all that. What other things do you need to know? How long to build the house is really important. Right now, we're seeing builders who are releasing homes today that won't deliver until May or June of 2022. So that's important so that you can prep your client in advance. And then the one other thing I'd say is know the community. So know things like HOA costs, taxes, amenities, planned amenities. Don't just look at a map. I've got the map right here of Painted Prairie, but don't just look at a map and go, oh, look, there's a dog park. Well, the dog park might not be here yet. Don't make promises to your clients about things that are going to happen until they really happen, or until you know for sure. So it's just really important that you are well prepared beforehand, probably more so than you need to do in resale.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't unmute myself. Thank you. Okay, Ashley, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that piece?
I 1000% agree with Michael on everything that he said. And it's just so uber important to know what the builders are doing. But on top of that, it's, also knowing your client. So obviously, you start your relationship with your client. You could be best friends from, 10th grade, or you could be, you just met them yesterday. So it's super important to know what is important to your to your buyer, excuse me. One example I can give you is I have a buyer who's interested in Painted Prairie, but come to find out there's certain different amenities that are more important to them. There's certain locations in the Denver metro area that are important to them. So we're actually moving down towards Castle Rock. With that said, knowing the builders, knowing that I'm thinking of KB here, in particular, these builders who have homes in a lot of different neighborhoods around Denver, I was able to connect with my favorite person at Painted Prairie and say, hey, look, I've got this guy. We started at Painted Prairie, but for X, Y, and Z reason, it looks like we're actually going to move south towards Castle Rock because they need these amenities. They need to be in DTC. They need to be, Painted Prairie is a great spot for that. But it's really just knowing what's important to your buyer and understanding there is more than just one neighborhood that you can go to look at. I know with me personally, a lot of my buyers, we start as resale, and then we eventually move into new build, as right now resale is exhausting. And so again, it kind of echoing what Michael had said of knowing your builders, knowing what they bring to the table. I will say that the big builders that have homes in lots of different communities around the area, they don't all offer the same thing. All of the upgrades are not the same. All the standards are not the same. So it's important to really get to know all the different builders that you think you'll be working with to bring the most value you can to your clients. So that's where I think that, you know, we as brokers are really, really super important, is we've got the inside track of, we know we have an understanding of where they can go and for the best benefit for them.
Absolutely. I'll add in 2 more points of reference for tips as far as trying to find out information about the builders, because we all know it can be tough because it's not an MLS like normal. So a couple of ways, if you are not familiar, that you can find out what communities are building, who is building and what, where the inventory is with homes, is use the New Home Source. You have New Home Source Professional as a resource through your MLS. Sign in, you can brand it, it's yours. That's where you can start. But also with, if it's a really good community like Painter Prairie, you can go to the main website and that developer is going to provide a vast amount of information, and then they will detail out who their builders are. Then you can connect with each of those builders. And true to what Ashley said, that is such a big piece. We are blessed to have a lot of really great builders in Colorado who are building in multiple locations. So you can kind of get to know the product because a lot of them are similar in other communities. But then, yes, it's all about relationships. We know real estate is a relationship business. And so it does extend from your clients to those builders. You can read reviews, you can start talking and find out what their specialties are. Know who builds the really large ranches or the main floor masters or the things that are really hot topics for many of your clients. Know that. So it's a go-to. And then ask the questions before you go in. And I also will agree with Michael, can't emphasize enough to get out of your own way. I understand, we all understand that we want to be the expert because that's what you're telling your client that you are. However, those builder sales associates are the experts of their own products. So let them help you, let them do the sale. You can still provide value by asking some questions, but you don't need to talk your client out of the sale. I can't emphasize that part enough. So great. Okay, so Ashley alluded to resale, moving from resale to new construction, because we all know it's a little brutal out there right now. And one of the big pieces that many of you are probably up against is the competitive bid war. So Ashley's going to touch on the benefit of new home construction with that and how to bring value to your client.
So I don't know about all of you, but it has been an exhausting past few months as a buyer's agent. It's just, oh my gosh. I mean, you name it, price point, it's been rough. So that's the nice thing that I have found with, like I was saying, with my resale clients, is bringing them to new construction, is there's no bidding wars. There's no, you know, will we get it? Will we not? We have to sign it by midnight, the whole thing, none of that. However, I will say, you know, kind of what Michael had said earlier, when you show your client, you know, now from the low 300s in this neighborhood, that's not it. So it's important to be realistic with your client and let them know, like, look, your budget is between $300,000 to $600,000. Here's the different builders that we can bring you, or that we can introduce you to, show you what they have. Do understand that they probably don't have anything, or maybe they do right away. That's, again, you know, good to know what the inventory is with the builders, getting to know the builders. It's just much easier. It's so much easier to bring your buyers and have a happy transaction and following throughout the rest of that. So I would just say that's one massive, massive benefit right now with new construction, is no bidding wars.
Absolutely. The other piece is you're not going to spend long hours writing the contract that then you ultimately lose because it's already done for you. The builders provide the contracts. And so if you have never done new home construction, just know it is going to be builder focused, which is kind of actually what you're writing contracts like now. It's seller focused, not buyer focused these days, right? But get to know it. You can definitely request the contract, a blank contract, before your client even signs, so that you can review it and know really what's entailed in it. The biggest piece is going to watch for the dates. You don't have as many contingency outs with a builder contract. So just be very aware of the dates and guide your client through that process. And then, as Ashley mentioned, have those financial sheets, back them into it. If they know what their price point is and say they get their base price plus a few upgrades, help them understand what their true upgrade max would be, and then really help them figure out what that is as a monthly payment, which you should be doing, and you probably do anyway for resale, but it's still just as important with new home construction.
It's also important, talk to the builder rep beforehand and find out what are people putting in upgrades. So when you see that price that says from the high 300s. It's important to know what is going to be on top of that, to know, is there a lot premium? You know, how does their design process work? Is it flat fee? Things like that, so that you can get your person really well prepared. And sometimes what you do is you go in just a few minutes early, you talk to the builder rep, you ask them those questions, your client comes in, and then you play dumb and you ask the question again in front of your client, but now you know the answer, but you show that you're actually there trying to get information for them.
Oh, I love that, because then you look like the expert, but you're helping your client and you already know. I love it. That's awesome. Good one. Okay, so inventory. We all know it's short, regardless of resale or even new home construction is starting to be a little shorter. So be aware, if you don't already know, that there could be wait lists and priority lists. So really understanding that process as well. But Michael's going to share with the benefit, though, of new home construction with inventory.
And you know, inventory, I said to somebody the other day that we're all real estate agents and we can complain about anything. We can complain about too much inventory, too little inventory, too many home sales, too few home sales. You know, but right now there is more inventory available on the builder side than there is on the resale side. Some builders have inventory. Some builders have stuff available now, and we'll talk about that in a second. It's really important to know how they're releasing information, how they're releasing homes. We talked to a builder about a week ago who was releasing 2 home lots every week, 2. And they had a waiting list of like 40 people. And, you know, I'm not a math major, but I can figure out that if there's 40 people waiting for 2 home sales, it's still going to be a while. But there is not a bidding war. You can't go in and go, hey, if I give you $5,000 more, can I have the house? So one of the important things about that is that when you go in with your client, find out what it takes to get them on the interest list. Find out if there's a waiting list. How do they get there? Do they have to pre-qualify with the builder's lender? That's probably one of the first steps. Get them on the list early, and recognize that when a builder tells you that they've got, you know, 100 names on their list, that's not 100 people who are going to buy that house. It's just like a resale buyer who goes out and they register on Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes.com, and then they all sell the lead to us. And you know that that person is out there with a dozen different agents chasing after them. It's kind of the same thing on the new build side, is that those people have gone and they've registered on lists throughout, you know, up and down the street. So work with your client, talk to them. If there's a house that they think that they're interested in, as long as that pre-qualification or getting on the list process is pretty easy, have them do it early. We had clients this weekend got a phone call and said, hey, you're up. And they weren't expecting to hear back for another couple months. But you know, their time came and they were able to contract on a house right away. In other markets, other than now, builders have inventory. And there's a couple ways that they have inventory. Some builders build spec homes to have homes always available for relatively quick closings. Some builders, you know, you find out that somebody was transferred, somebody lost their job, and they dropped a contract. So having that relationship that I talked about earlier with the builder is really important to know when things are coming up. It is important, as Neneh said, look at the community websites. Some of them have inventory on it. The Painter Prairie broker app, you can go in there and you can find out what's available. See, I got the plug in there, Neneh.
Love it.
The builders' websites sometimes have inventory on them. Look at New Home Source and find out what's in there. Don't trust MLS for new home sales. Builders do not put the information in, for the most part, until it's like an inventory home and they've got to get it sold. Years ago, I was talking to one builder and they had one listing in that had been in for 3 years. And I said, what's going on? Why, like, you haven't sold the house? And the rep told me no, that what she did was every time she sold one, she just went into the listing, changed it, and put in information for the new house. So she had one listing that she was using for house after house after house.
Which is why it says it's been on the market 365 days when you go in MLS.
Yeah, and you'll see in MLS, you'll see prices have gone up, which is usually after they've reached stages in construction, and they may have put in the kitchen cabinets and the flooring on a spec home. But knowing that inventory also helps you when your client says, "Hey, I want to run over to Aurora Highlands and see what they have available." knowing what they have available, because when you're doing a new home tour with people, you can be driving all over the place. So it's really important to know, hey, yeah, that builder is a future builder in that community. They haven't even started yet. Here's what is available, and being able to talk to your clients and help them out with that.
Thank you. Okay, so along the lines of bidding wars, when we're talking money, Ashley's going to talk about how with new home construction, you can save money with new home construction, and really how you can help your client in that regard.
Well, one of the main things that everybody's looking for in new construction are really, I find it fascinating, but very true, is that everybody is looking for these high-end finishes, but what everybody's really wanting, it seems like, is a basement. And we all know that basements, labor is tough to come by. All the supplies that are needed to build a basement are hard to come by. So when you're building a new home, you're actually saving money if you have the builder build the basement. Depending on the builder, depending on what kind of basement, you could go completely crazy. But we're looking at maybe, maybe about 40 to 60,000 ish to build a basement with a new home. To remodel a home, I can tell you, at least here in this neighborhood in Central Park, it is really hard to find somebody who can do it quickly and underneath $60,000.
I thought it was under 100,000. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm being conservative with 60. I heard a bid the other day about 85, and it was like an 800 square foot basement. So that's crazy. But so when you're talking about saving money, building a new home, you can roll in these costs into your mortgage. So, maybe to some people, they just want the basement space. That's great. You don't have to finish it out. And maybe you're handy and you want to finish it out later. That's great. There's other things such as like upgraded counters and cabinets and things along that line that are super expensive on the remodel list. But when you're building new, you're getting it at the builder's cost. So it's a lot lower, and it makes a lot more sense for the builder's bottom line, or for the buyer's bottom line. So in the end, you really are helping the builders or the buyers save money. On top of that, you've got, your newer appliances, your newer systems, your newer home systems that are saving energy efficient money. There's a couple of homes here around the neighborhood, and I know Painter Prairie is right up there with them. They're zero net energy. So that is a big, big deal. And I foresee in years to come, homes that are more energy efficient being a bigger draw, holding a bigger resale value. So in the end, saving money, that's what we all want to do, but it makes more sense for a lot of folks to go ahead and roll those costs in early rather than doing it later. So I will say that on saving money.
Absolutely. That reduced out-of-pocket expense, because we all know when you go into resale, there's something ultimately that the client wants to do. They've got to change that countertop, or they've got to upgrade something else, or add paint, or do something. And you don't have to worry about that with the new home construction. Plus, as Ashley said, you can even, when you go into many of the builders, they'll show you their HERS rating and really show you the savings. Utility bills for resale are extremely higher than for a new home construction. So out of the gate, your clients are saving money. So that just helps you have that conversation with them about why to start looking at new home construction. So then let's move into the equity piece. Ashley's going to talk about how it is a good investment.
So I would say, I was actually talking with my team about this question of, what do you think about new home construction versus resales when it comes to equity on investments? And we all agree that the warranties that the builders are offering, most of the builders, we all know there's some that don't, but most of the builders offer these 1, 6, 10-year warranties on their homes, which does transfer to the new owner should they sell. So, and then as far as, looking at appraisals, and you guys are all in the game, you understand how crazy it is right now and how we're seeing over marketing or over bidding on all of these things. The items that are coming in these new home construction homes, the cabinets are great, the countertops are great, the flooring is great, everything is already upgraded. So you've already got quite a bit stocked into your investment. The other thing I will say is, at least this past year, looking at the few clients that I've had out in Painter Prairie who closed in December and earlier in 2020, their appreciation on their house has just skyrocketed. So, and that's not just Painter Prairie, it's kind of everywhere. But you guys know, folks want new, better, beautiful. you will have your clients that are looking for a project, but all in all, people are looking for a turnkey move-in ready home. And newer construction homes definitely offer that. So I would say that you definitely have, it's a great investment. And especially if you don't have to do anything to it to make it a safe, great investment. You can just kind of move in and do nothing and know that your house is appreciating just by you living there and taking care of it.
That's all good points. The other thing I'll say is that historically, new builds appreciate faster than resale homes. And so I really encourage, I know it can seem scary sometimes for people if they come in and the community is just really starting out and they'd be the pioneer. But as Michael and Jolynn can really attest to, that being the pioneer in a community is really where you're going to have that. You're maximizing that appreciation because you are buying at a lower price and it's just going to grow within the community. So a lot of opportunity. When it comes to those cleaner homes, the more efficient homes, that also means healthier homes. So Michael's going to talk about the benefit of a new build within the health aspect.
One thing just to add on talking about costs is on a new construction home, there are a couple things that are not included. Usually washer, dryer, refrigerator, window coverings, landscaping. But those are things that you might be able to do through the builder, and you may find some savings by doing it that way. But don't have your client have a surprise afterwards when they find out that the fence wasn't included. They're going to need to spend $5,000. Knowing that, as you could tell, Neneh asked me to focus on being prepared when you talk to them. So that was something.
I absolutely agree. Great points on questions to ask in advance.
On talking about the homes being new. And I'm going to throw it back to Neneh because I'm going to have her say her line here. Everything's new, nothing's been lived in. And Neneh wants to say,
there's no butts on the toilets and no toenails buried in your carpets.
So I couldn't carry off that line, so I figured I'd let Neneh do it. So it's important to know the builder's construction processes and their practices and what they're doing. There's a builder who really focuses on healthy homes, and they talk about air handling. One of the things that we find in these newer construction homes is that they're so tight that you're not getting air recirculating. So they put in vents to bring in fresh air on a regular basis, and the builders may talk about that. They'll talk about their energy ratings, and Neneh talked about HERS ratings, which is the home energy rating system, which you can look at and at a real high level. If a home has a HERS rating of 70, that means that its energy bills should be about 70% of what they are for a new regular construction built home. We're not talking about an existing home. We're not talking about going into Mayfair and finding a home that was built 100 years ago, which would probably have a HERS rating of about 200, meaning that it's far less efficient. So knowing HERS ratings, understanding what that means, and being able to explain it to somebody is really important. We've seen issues with, we all deal with it. Lead-based paint, asbestos. Obviously, all those things don't exist in new construction homes. You don't have to hire a cleaning crew for the move-in. Some of the builders actually right now are sending serious disinfecting crews through the houses. But at the very least, after your final walkthrough, and I'll talk about walkthroughs in a few minutes, but after that final walkthrough, the builder sends another cleaning crew through. I don't see that in a normal market. I certainly don't see it in today's market where the seller has all the control. And the one thing I was going to say, responding to Patty's comment in the chat, is everything's new. So the trees, that's a big trunk on a tree. I've joked that in Central Park, a redwood is about that big around. So be prepared that there are going to be some downsides of new, that you may have a dirt yard for a while, like we do right now. But you're also going to have a lot of amenities, those parks and things that are all new, the trails, things that didn't exist years ago. Selling a house in a lot of neighborhoods, it's just house after house after house. You come somewhere like Painter Prairie, which has just tons of trails and parks, and they're being built before the houses so the residents can enjoy them. Or Central Park, where a third of the land is open space. So new doesn't only mean that it's not old. It also means that it's current, it's modern, it's what people are looking for today. And those things all help to contribute to a healthy lifestyle outside the house.
Great segue into what people are wanting. So freedom of choice, semi-custom for some builders specifically. So Michael's going to just move on into the benefits of your client being able to get what they want.
Yeah, I mean, in today's market, I think people talk about custom homes and semi-custom homes, and everybody says, geez, I can't afford a custom home, because when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about sitting down with an architect, buying a piece of property, working with a general contractor, doing all those things. That's just, and it could be a nightmare for people. The great thing in new construction is the architect's already been taken care of. Some builders actually do allow you to do a lot of customization. They may let you move windows. They may let you move walls. That is rare. Most of the builders don't let you do those things. They're production builders. They move house to house to house. So, is your home custom? No. Is it semi-custom? Yes. Did you pick the cabinets in the kitchen? Did you pick the countertop, the flooring, the carpets, the tile, all those things that you can do in any new home construction, unless you're buying a spec home. So you can actually make that your home. I've told people that like every new construction home is semi-custom, and it's semi-custom for you. I laugh. We've done a lot of business up in Evergreen, and I see things about custom homes, and you walk in and it certainly wasn't custom for me, and it wasn't custom for my buyer, and it was custom for somebody with some really questionable taste. But you can make your home in this process. And the other place that you can add just huge value to your client is, as a real estate agent, you're out there looking at resale homes all the time. And so you have an idea of what sells and what doesn't sell, what adds value and what doesn't. Your clients, they watch HGTV. So they think that when Christina puts in that Moroccan looking black and white gray tile that she sees put in every single home, that must be, the current trend. What sells in Denver, so you can help advise them and talk to them about, is it granite or is it quartz? Is it oak cabinets? Is it maple cabinets? Is it dark wood? Is it white? What it is that actually has value in this market locally, which is a great way for you to show your value and to save them money, because they may be looking to do some crazy upgrade, and you go, if you want that for you, great. But if you want that because you think it's going to add a lot of value, here's what I see. So I think that's a great spot that you can add value to your client and show you that you're the expert.
Absolutely. And that also then goes to what Ashley was saying, as far as knowing the basement in advance. It might seem like a lot, but when you roll it out into the monthly payment of how much that is per month, it's still less expensive to go ahead and opt for that. And then if you think about it on the resale side of it down the road, because most people are going to be selling in the 3 to 10 years. I don't even know what the range is anymore. But anyway, you know what's doing better with the resale side. Success fees, hot topic these days, isn't it? Ashley's just going to hit on it. And I didn't preface earlier, we will have time for question and answer at the end. So we're just going to roll through this. But Ashley, if you want to chat about why it's beneficial with new home construction.
I was actually surprised by this stat that realtors make up 75 to 90% of the transactions that are done on new builds, which is fantastic. I know I personally love to work with the builders. I like to go in, I like to get to know them. I like to get to know their inventory, really because, that helps me help my buyers. So I have not had this happen yet. Michael probably has, but there are a few different builders who have different fee schedules, so if you will. So I know that if you sell, 3 or 4, then your commission might go up a little bit, or maybe they'll give you a trip, or there's a plethora of reasons. So the one thing that has happened for me that I'm just thrilled about is getting to know the sales agents. They know what neighborhood I'm coming in with. They know what my buyer pool, what my farm looks like. And so if they get somebody that comes into the sales office and they need a little bit of help getting the certain buyer to sign or to close, and they have a house to sell, who are they going to call? So they'll probably call the people that they're the most familiar with. And so I've been lucky in the sense that I have been able to sell a couple of homes for buyers moving into Painted Prairie. And so that's been really great. That's my personal thing, what's happened with me. I've heard of lots of different other builders giving away. Gosh, I heard one builder's giving up to like 4% commission now if you sell 3 or 4 houses. So that's definitely motivation to do it. I have enjoyed working with builders though. I have. I really, I think it's a benefit. There's always something to learn. I'm always learning. I am nowhere near a pro at this. And it's nice to go in there and be a little bit humble with the builders, even like Michael was saying, before your clients show up, and get the answers that you need. And then when your clients come in, then you can ask those questions again. So you do look like the expert. But builders do want to work with brokers. They do. I have not come across one builder that is hesitant or reluctant or pushes me out. They need to sell homes. We need to sell homes. And so by making us a team together with our buyer, it really gives our buyer a nice peace of mind going into the transaction. So I have nothing but great things to say about working with builders.
I think that's great. The other pieces of tips I'll give you, because we've all either heard the story or had it happen that you have a client who goes rogue. You've told them, make sure you have my cards with you. Make sure you tell the builder, don't stop at a place without me. You've done that. And they do it anyway because they're just so excited or whatever. So a couple of tips for you. If they don't carry your cards around, they probably won't, or maybe they're just so excited they've given them away. Send them a V card of yours or a picture of your business card so that easily, if they do walk into a builder's office, they can say, this is my agent. Then you're registered and you're connected if they go in without you. That's tip number one. Also, when you're calling around for information, you can go on each of the builder sites and register your clients in advance. If you have a client that you've started and you think that there's a potential that they would do new home construction, or you know a community you think they'd like, go ahead and pre-register them before y'all even start looking. And then also with Painted Prairie, I will just give us a huge shout out. Michael referenced it earlier, but we have an app, which I will put the link in later. The benefit of our app, if you have it on your phone, you can pre-register your clients. And if you put them in, you can click every single builder in our community and it will shoot it out and they are automatically registered. So you don't have the chance of potentially losing out on that success fee.
And Neneh,
Yes.
the one other thing real fast is I've actually seen builders who defend the real estate agent. When the client says, hey, if I don't have an agent, will you give me something? And the builders say, no, we don't do it that way. That's not the way we operate. I've seen some the other way, but I've seen more of them who say, no, we value those relationships and we don't give you an incentive to cut out an agent.
Thank you. I like that. And I will give you a little quick fact that in Painted Prairie, with the research we've done, the sales that have an agent or a broker attached to them, the sale price is actually a little bit higher than ones without. So builders appreciate the fact that brokers help their clients get through that process. Okay, so Ashley did mention that builders want to work with brokers, which in our community is 100% the case, which is a great segue into her talking about how builders help you as an agent. It's a great benefit. They are almost like a transaction coordinator for you. So go ahead, Ashley.
Oh my gosh, it's the best. It's the best. So when your client goes to contract with a new build, you're definitely not done. However, you have a second set of eyes. You have the builder who is keeping the calendar, who's letting you know what's going on, taking pictures, hopefully, sending all the information to you, to your client. They are sending the information to the lenders, to the inspectors, all those kinds of things. And the timeline is managed. This is still super important. You cannot keep take your hands off the wheel and say that I'm done, not by any means. But that little piece is kind of relief for you. So you now have more free time to do more lead gen, help more buyers, whatever it is that you're looking to do. But it's such a nice, you can call the builder, let's say that it's in, I don't know, I'm in Central Park, so I'm thinking that a builder down in Littleton. I don't want to drive to Littleton every day. So I can rely on that builder to know what's happening. They can take a picture. They can let me know what's happening. Just basically do a drive-by. So I find it really, really important in my line of business with my builder or with my new build buyers to really keep a strong calendar of knowing, when is the pre-drywall walkthrough. But it's my job to explain to the buyer what it is that's going to be happening. But it's the builder who will actually be carrying out those meetings and explaining things like that. So again, just keeping a good idea on what the calendar is happening, what's going on. So it's definitely beneficial, but you're definitely not done.
Thanks. The other point of that, I love putting in a calendar. Same thing as when you go under contract anywhere else, you pull all of your dates into your calendar and your deadline. So just make sure you're doing the same with the builder calendar, because again, there's a few dates that are very specific where your client would no longer have the opportunity to get the earnest money back if they want to. So that's one of the biggest pieces. And that goes to what Ashley said. You don't take the hands off the wheel. You are still their trusted advisor. So you are still walking them through the process. Also, very often the builders, as you probably do with your clients each week, you do an update on, especially if you have a listing, you're telling them who's seen it or whatever. The builders' sales associates are usually having a weekly call with their buyers about the process of the construction, and you can be a part of that call. You can be as involved as you want, but then just communicate with the builder that you would also like to be updated, or that you want to have the conversation before they call your client. So you have that control because they're still your client, but it is the nice piece that you're not tied up with all these other things you normally would have with the resale. And again, you can, as Ashley said, free yourself up to go make more money. Now we're going to head to, so stress-free inspection. So this is where it goes into builders handling things. So Michael's going to talk about that piece.
You know, builders will talk about the fact that a new construction home has been inspected, you know, by city inspectors, by the superintendent who's building it, by the trades. Some of the builders have, they bring corporate employees out from their headquarters who may come out and walk the house. And so that's really important that there's been a lot of sets of eyes on the home throughout the process. Those aren't home inspections like we're used to home inspections. They're not going through and running everything. So a lot of buyers, it's still a good idea to ask them, do you want to have a home inspection? And most builders are very cool with that. They'll kind of give you a window and say, you know, we're closing on this date. Here's our walkthrough date. Here's when you should have an inspector come in, because that inspector is going to be looking for different things. So that's a value add right there that you can give to people. If you haven't done new home sales, working from the back end, you know, you have your closing date, usually a week to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks before that closing date. In today's world, it's more like a week. You'll have a walkthrough. They may call it a new homeowner orientation or something like that, but it's an opportunity for the buyer to walk through the home. Some of them will want you there, some of them won't. Some of the builders encourage real estate agents, some of them kind of discourage it, especially if you haven't done a lot of it. But it's an opportunity to walk through the home and look for flaws. I had a builder once tell me that, you know, nothing is perfect. Your home is not going to be perfect. We're going to get it as perfect as we can. But remember that, you know, a house is like the last thing that's still built by hand. Yeah, there's guys out there with pneumatic nailers and things, but it's not being built by a robot in a factory and being shipped in. So it's important that you understand how all that works. And at that last walkthrough, you go and you put little pieces of blue tape, like, oh, there's a scratch on the wall over here. Or, you know, this cabinet door doesn't close cleanly. I don't think that any of us has ever had the opportunity to walk through a resale home and put little blue pieces of tape on the seller's house and ask them to fix the paint touch-ups. So that's something that you can add value and prepare your client for. At the same time, preparing them that if they're going to walk around with a framing square and try and make sure that every corner is 90 degrees, they're going to be sorely disappointed. So, you know, as you go through, that builder's taking a lot off your plate with that. They also, as Ashley said, they have warranties. You know, during that first year, you're going to find things that don't work. I bought homes. I bought a bunch of new homes. I'm not going to let Diana speak right now and talk how many of them we bought, because it feels like, you know, it's been insane. But, you know, there's things that you miss, or a door may not close cleanly. It may be fine when you bought the house in June, but in December, when the house was dried out and the heat was on, the door doesn't close cleanly. You know, you have usually a 1 year bumper to bumper. Builders don't always like hearing that, but they're comprehensive warranty that you can go in and ask for some of those things to be fixed. Some builders will help with paint touch-ups. Some of them will re-caulk or re-grout tile. That's another of those things. If you find out in advance, what is their process? What do they cover or not cover? Because recognize that even the best home inspector is going to go in and run the HVAC system for an hour or maybe 2 hours, not for days. They're not going to give it that stress test. So that warranty comes out and is really helpful over that first year.
Yeah, and nowhere, you go into a remodel and you're not going to have a structural warranty in place. And that's a huge thing because you get that with the builders. I did laugh out loud though when Michael gave me that visual. Could you seriously imagine a resale your client going around with blue tape everywhere? Doesn't happen. I think it's so funny. But it is about also setting the expectation of what the inspection will cover, that sometimes, they're not perfect. No home is perfect. So even with a new build and all the inspections that have along the way, their washing machine might not work when they move in because of something, but the builder, you're under warranty, and so they can have that done. So it's all about setting expectation with the inspection piece, as well as with the build out time frame that Michael's going to talk about.
So I guess we're talking about build out time frame. We had a couple of people who put new construction homes under contract this past weekend. I already mentioned one of them. They're talking about like May, June of 2022. So understanding how that time frame works, what we see is that builders, from the time they break ground, so the time that they start digging the basement or pouring the foundation, you're generally in the 3 to 6 months, some builders a little bit longer from that point. But that point is not the day you write the contract. Builders have to get permits, and permits in Denver can take 60 to 90 days. That's another of the reasons why builders don't like you to customize, structural options. So, understand how that process works and what timing it's going to be. You may find that for your client, they absolutely can't wait. And so new construction is just not going to be an option for them. You might find for some other people that there's some big advantages to being able to wait it out. Maybe they need to save some time or save some money for a down payment. Maybe they need to do a little credit repair. Maybe they've got a lease that is not going to expire for 6 months. So new construction is a benefit to them. There's also an advantage that your buyer may actually be building equity on something they don't own. So a typical builder deposit when you write a contract is anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 that they're going to be putting down up front. And that house may not be ready for 6 to 12 months. Well, in that 6 to 12 months, their price has now been locked in. The builder doesn't go and say, okay, we're not doing any price increases until everybody closes. So I mentioned earlier that builder who was releasing 2 lots every week, and they were raising prices by $2,500 or $3,500 every single week. So if you think about that and you go, wow, my client's not going to be into their house for 6 months, they could have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in equity just because they contracted at the March price and they closed in September at the March price. So that's a big deal. The other thing that we talked about as we were getting ready for this was this is a great way for you as an agent to help spread out your income. As I said, we got people who are going to close next year. Yeah, I kind of like the money now versus next year, but I already know that we have money coming next year. I already know some of that income that's coming in. And it's especially true when you get into the fall, the winter, and the spring, as our market tends to slow down, but builders are working on a fiscal year basis. So quite often builders are trying to make sure that they get homes sold in November and December to make their fiscal year. So from a commission standpoint or a success fee or whatever we're calling it these days, you as an agent know that you've got some money coming in November, some money coming in December, some money coming in January, in times that are otherwise slow. And they don't require you working insane amounts at that time because your time has been spread out over a 6 or 8 month period in working with that client.
I think that's great. Mirsad mentioned that some builders don't allow you to be locked in. The only thing I've ever heard is, depending on your lender, you might not be able to lock the interest, but once you go under contract, your price is, that's your price. The only thing that changes is if you have a design change, right?
And what we see is that when you contract, and I'm talking about when you contract, when you sign the contract, not the day you walk in and say, hey, I'm interested in this house, get me on the interest list. I mean, we had a client who, while they were waiting for the lot that they wanted, the price went up by about $40,000. And that was their choice. They decided, this is the lot that I want, and I'm willing to pay. So their price wasn't locked in just because they were interested. As soon as they contracted on the house price was locked in. As soon as they selected their options, their option prices were locked in. So they go through months without any changes. I haven't seen anything where a builder raises, those items once you have formalized it. And honestly, I've actually seen the opposite. I've seen times where, this flooring was no longer available at the time that they went to install it. And the builder's gone back to the buyer and said, kind of like, pick what you want. And they've given them the option to get that, 5-inch wide plank flooring at the cost that they had for 2.25-inch red oak.
Which is a great point that we should have referenced earlier. When your client is choosing the options, just as Michael said, prices go up. So when they are in there choosing their structural options, some of the design options early on, when they're setting up their contract, this is before they go to the design center. This is, I want to have these upgrades. It is better to go ahead and put it in, because 2 weeks from now, that price could have gone up. But if you do it right, then you are locking in that upgrade price. So it's better, if they think that they might want it, it's better to just say, yes, I would like another door. Yes, I would like another, nothing super structural like a bedroom, but things like that. I want those doors upgraded. I want solid core instead of hollow, whatever. It's better to lock it in and they can change that later. I also want to just reference, in case you're not familiar, when you do go onto a builder's website and they have quick move-in. Quick move-in, as Michael was saying, could be anything that could be ready that day. Like it's done. It's through the OC, or it could be 2 to 3 months. They just started the process, but it still might not be finalized in 2 to 3 months. So that's in your quick move-in. So don't promise your client that tomorrow you'll be good. A lot of times though, you're getting through that lending closing process and then it will be ready. The other piece is there's ready to build, and that's a separate category. The ready to build means that the builder has started the lot. They've started to pull permits because they've decided which home they were going to build on that lot. So the process is cut down because, like Michael said, 30 to 60 days, depending on the city, how long the permits could be. So it's knocking off that time. So instead of maybe a 12-month build out, it might only be an 8 to 10-month build out. So those are the differences within those two categories. Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to add regarding time frame?
I agree with Michael, and it seems like, speaking right now, March 2021, time is of the essence. If you guys can lock in, go under contract, the quicker you do it, the better it is, because these prices are going to go up, and I do not see any leveling out happening. So
yeah. And again, it's all about that communication, knowing your client's true needs. Is it time? Is it money? Or is it the choice? And then preparing them, really it is that point that they go in, and even if they go on an interest list, while they might be number 120, they really could only be number 20 based on how many people have fallen off, but it still could take some time. So there is a possible price increase that would happen within that time. It's also really important to prepare them that while they might lock in their purchase price, unless they have a super fabulous lender that allows them, or they're paying for it, they're not going to be locking in their interest rate. So there's a possibility that within that build time, their interest rate could possibly change. Any questions before we close up? We've covered a lot of great information. No? My lovely co-host did such an amazing job. Y'all don't have any questions? Wow. Okay. Or did we just bore you? No, it was good information. Thank you. I see y'all saying good. Okay, so as a reminder, I put in the chat, there is a link to our Facebook page. We have a broker private Facebook page where we post information that is broker relevant, so you get the insider scoop ahead of other people. Looks like some things are coming through. Where can we find more information on what builders are continuing on phase 2? You join the Facebook page that I just told you about, and then you'll get the information. We did make a small announcement. It's not public. So if you have specific questions, reach out to me. I just can't say it on this recorded public piece right now, but we will be making the announcement very soon. And we do have new builders coming. It's very, very exciting. And I can tell you a dog park is coming. That one is public knowledge. The dogs will be able to play hopefully by summer is what we are thinking. So we have a lot of fantastic things coming through with Painter Prairie, including our town center, more parks, an international food hall, lots of fabulous things and events. Stay tuned. We are having some amazing summer events coming in. And then again, as I said, Michael's garage sale. So y'all can go shopping in May. Okay, well, thank you for attending. I really appreciate having you here. It was great to see you. I love feedback. So afterwards, if you'd like to reach out and let me know maybe what we missed or what was super fantastic that you learned, that is helpful. Again, Ashley and Michael, thank you so much for co-hosting with me and sharing all of your wealth of knowledge. Y'all go sell some homes. Love to see you in Painter Prairie. Bye.